you doing, man? Everything all right?
Holiday season, baby.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we're open tomorrow.
You got a big event there tomorrow?
40, 50 golfers, something like that.
Yeah, that's not bad.
What
That's
time
easy.
do you close?
Well, we want to close the course at 3.
Yeah. Carts in by 3 or?
Oh, yeah, because I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
We have these new cards that I can send any messages to. So every night anybody that's out there past the time we want, it's like, final warning.
Yeah.
Drew's a keyboard warrior.
You've got 5 minutes to get back to the clubhouse.
Where you could shut the cart down?
Yeah, 100%. And they don't like that warning, so they get back. The problem is we don't want our guys out there, like, trying to clean carts in the dark.
Yeah.
People come back, bring back a damaged cart. You won't be able to see it.
Yeah, it's
Or
understandable.
it gets stuck in the mud or
Oh,
something.
right. Yeah. We just don't want our guys there that late.
Yeah, it's totally understandable.
So we are back for another episode, Clubhouse 54 podcast. Michael, what's up?
We have a guest today.
We do. We always have a guest.
We have a strong guest today.
Strong as in, like,
Strong.
okay.
Strong as in he's the man. I've known him for, I don't know, how long have we known each other for? Wow. I'm going to say maybe it's got to be like close to 8 years, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Between 5 and 8.
Yeah, between 5 and 8 years. He is the 2022 Philadelphia PGA Teacher of the Year, Golf Digest Best Young Teachers in America Under 40, and Golf Digest Best Teacher in New Jersey in 2018, 19, and current, I believe.
Yep.
And this is Steve Sieracki from the Legacy Club in New Jersey. Steve, how are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm doing good. Doing good.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Welcome, Steve.
Thank you.
So on our podcast, Steve, we try to, get people's stories,
Yep.
find out more about them, about their background, how they got into golf, what inspired them. So we'd like to start there with you. Try to, just to learn a little bit more.
Yeah.
When did you find out you had a passion for golf?
I would say right around like 96, 97. I remember vividly like the Masters, that Tiger won, that I kind of like really, kind of got into it. He just seemed like a cool guy. It was just different from the golf that I was used to growing up with my grandpa and dad watching it. And then my grandpa and dad cut down, one of those old metal drivers, cut the grip off. We went down to the baseball field where I live, started hitting, and hit the ball pretty good.
Nice.
And thought it was fun. And then, I played all the sports, soccer, basketball, golf, and baseball. And I really just, as it got on and on, I realized I didn't really like running anymore.
Understandable.
And really got out of it with baseball. So I really got into golf, I would say really hard, like 12, 13, 14. But the first thing that got me into it was, I think, watching Tiger and the Masters. So once I got hooked, then just joined a local club and just started playing.
Nice. I think Tiger got a lot of people hooked in golf.
I agree.
You think?
Agree.
I mean, he didn't get me. I mean, I watched him once I learned what golf was, but you got hooked in golf with Tiger, right?
Oh, I've started playing before Tiger, but after seeing him, it's like, everybody started playing. I mean, it wasn't something that just gradually grew. It was instant.
Yeah, it was a boom pretty quickly with him, no doubt.
Yeah. So, was that in Jersey then? Are you from Jersey?
Yeah, South Jersey. Grew up in Cherry Hill.
Okay, nice.
My whole life, live in Voorhees now, but I've been there really my whole life. Always in South Jersey.
So, did you then take that from 12 and then start playing in high school? And
Yeah, so joined Merchantville Country Club. That's where I grew up playing when I was in 6th grade. So I think that was right around 2000, like 99, 2000. Got
Wait. Did you say 6th grade?
Yeah.
God, I'm so old.
Yeah.
Okay, carry on.
But joined then. Got fit for a set of ping irons in a freezing cold day in November. Got those, and then once I think I joined the club, I was like a 22 handicap, something like that.
Wow.
And then I basically played in practice all summer and got down to close to a 10.
Nice.
And that was right around the time I met Dave Quinn, and Dave was the one that started to teach me.
Nice.
And right around that time was like that 2000, 2001 time is when Dave was starting to get introduced to Mac O'Grady.
Okay.
Who, eventually with Mike Bennett and Andy Plummer. So from the start, I never had a bad golf lesson. I was fortunate that I never got bad information.
Wow.
So from right away, it's 2023 now, I've been around all that information, from 2000, really because of Dave.
Nice.
Dave was the one that got me into it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then when I was 16, I went to a golf school, 3-day golf school with Mac, with Dave for 3 days. And it was pretty funny that the whole week, Mac never called me Steve one time.
What was your name?
Kid.
Kid.
He called
Love
me
it.
Kid. The whole 3 days. And I think it was like me, Dave, and like 6 or 7 other guys for 3 days.
Nice.
Range all day. Then you go out to dinner, and you know how it is. You keep talking golf and doing all that. It was,
of course.
That was a fun experience.
So what did your handicap change to after that?
I think it was my sophomore year. It went down from where a good round was like 39, a bad day was like 44. And then after that summer, that's when I started, competing in the club championships. My junior year, I think I got my stroke average down to like 38.
Nice.
That, being with Dave, with Mac, that really was the takeoff. And the whole time, to me, you know how Mac and them teach, it made sense to me.
Yep.
My mind, we were just having that conversation in the putting studio, was all numbers. I was always math and science.
Yep.
I was great with numbers. There was an answer. If you do this and this, the ball goes here.
Got it.
Where like I hated English and philosophy because you can kind of fluff your way around that.
Yep.
2 + 2 is 4. You put the ball here. You put your hands here. The ball goes here. And I like the straight line, the linear part of it, not having to think all around it. There's an answer. I had the answers. It all made sense to me using the camera, and that's kind of I think where the teaching got really took off from that experience.
So did you have like a passion to try to go play golf for a living?
Yeah, definitely. At that time, wanted every kid on the green winning the U.S. Open or hitting the shots out there.
Yep.
And it really wasn't until I would say my end of years in college at LaSalle where I started to actually play a little bit less, and I was filming more kids on the team to help them with their game and really not doing too much on mine. So towards the end of my golfing career, I didn't care so much about playing. It was I had more fun helping them play.
Nice. Now, were you a good player at that time?
Yeah. I mean, high school, I was probably a better high school player than I was in college.
Okay.
My junior and senior year, we won states my senior year of high school. I think I had like a 37 point whatever average, shooting, under par a lot in big tournaments, shooting right around even.
Yep.
And then I went to Arizona State my freshman year to be in the PGM program.
Yep.
To be in the golf business.
Yeah. And
that was kind of where my game, I would say, declined a little bit. I tore my ACL out in Arizona State playing flag football.
Of course.
So didn't get to practice as much as I'd like to. And then, you come home, you have to work your internships, work at the golf course in the summertime. So not too much time to play.
Got it.
But that's really where the teaching and filming and taking pictures of swing went up, and the playing kind of went down a little bit.
Okay. How are their facilities?
We're at ASU.
Mm-hmm.
When I was there, I wasn't on the main campus like in Tempe. My campus for the PGM was in Mesa.
Okay.
And when I was there, I had just put in a double-sided grass driving range that was open at nighttime, which sucked because I couldn't hit because of my leg. So I would go down. It was my right leg, thankfully. So I'd go down there with my crutch. I'd bring a wedge while the other roommates would hit. I'd film them, and I'd work on my pitching and chipping because you could just stand on your front foot and pop the ball out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, the facilities there when I got there were unbelievable. Double-sided grass driving range. It's open basically till 10 o'clock at night in the desert.
It's awesome.
That was pretty cool.
I love that Scottsdale area.
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, going to the waste management tournament there with all the college buddies. It was a good first year. I was only there for 1 year at ASU, and then I transferred back and went to LaSalle to play.
Yeah.
To play golf there and get a marketing degree.
Nice. Yeah, I used to spend like a month out in Arizona every winter. I stopped doing that
awesome.
like 4 or 5 years ago. But yeah, I mean that area. Drew, have you been out there?
Oh, of course.
It's the golf. The golf courses are so pure.
The weather.
The weather.
You know what it's going to be every single day. There's no rain. It's perfect in the wintertime.
Now, how hot was it out there?
I mean, when I got to school there in August, you're looking at your 105 to 112 degree days.
It's a dry heat.
Right, it is. I'd prefer that than the
humidity.
95 July August.
Oh, 100%.
Definitely.
That's what I
mean.
keep
Listen, it's 110's 110.
Yeah,
it's hot.
Yeah, that's right. I asked a couple of the pros out there when I was there, and I said, "Hey, like, how hot does it get?" Like, and they're like, "Look, it's like 2 months of like it's hot, but it's dry. It's not as bad as it would be."
No.
Down in South Carolina or something like that. And they're like, it's 2 months of it. They're like the other 10 months of being perfect. It's totally worth it.
The heat in Florida in July is way worse, than 110 in Scottsdale.
Even in August, it is. I mean, I think a lot of courses down there, that's where they shut down and do their work on their courses, do things that they need to do because they're not getting any play.
Right.
So why not work on the course and do things that we need to do for the year?
They overseed. Do the overseeding.
I mean, I was just down there and I had the God damn, my brain just went blank. I had the opportunity to play at Meisner Country Club, and I mean the fairways, the bunkers, the greens were like putting on glass, and I loved every bit of it. I mean, it's when you go to a course in Florida, it's really hard to find something that's not in decent shape or playable shape that where you won't enjoy yourself.
Yeah, I mean the weather's perfect right now down there. I want to go. I'm going. I'm going to go to your house down there in whatever town you're in. We'll hang some.
Whatever town I'm in.
We'll have some fun.
We've talked about it so many times, but whatever.
I just don't want to say it on air. All right, so Steve, after college then.
Yep.
When did you decide, like, hey, all right, I want to go work at a club, be a teaching pro? Did you go like the assistant route first or anything like that?
No, not really. I was pretty lucky with what happened with me. So, I transferred. I left ASU because I could almost kind of see the writing on the wall that the PGM program out there really wasn't for me. The teaching aspect, from my background, the teaching that they were teaching out there was trash. To be completely honest with you, it was terrible. And I ended up being right because they don't have a program there anymore. Wow. So their PGM program went away.
Oh, I was unaware of that.
Yeah, wow. I don't know what year, but I kind of could see the writing on the wall. So I came back home, practice and play to be closer, to Dave at the time. I got the opportunity to play golf at LaSalle. And then, Mike and Andy were in the area. Andy's at Aronimink. Mike at the time, I think, was at Matitaconk.
Yep.
So they're both in the area. And that's when I really started to begin a friendship and a relationship with them. I'd go watch Andy teach at Aronimink. I started actually my senior year a little bit. I started traveling the PGA Tour with them.
Nice.
I went to some tournaments. I'd sleep on their hotel floor where I was going to the driving range, meeting the players. So
wow, that's awesome.
I did that for the whole fall series. Like every weekend in the fall series, I was calling my dad, moving flights around. Okay, we're going to Arizona. We're going to Las Vegas for Justin Timberlake's tournament. Going up to New York for the what was it called at the time? The Turning Stone. Remember the Turning Stone tournament that Dustin Johnson won? So I went to a lot of tournaments with them. I started to go to their golf schools in Florida and bring students where I could observe them teaching. And most of the time during this period, I would always show up and their batteries would be dead. So they end up using my camera. I'd have my camera with the battery, and I would give them the camera for the day. They'd film, and at the end of the night, I'm like, holy crap, I have like the conversation. Like I got a lot of cool stuff.
Wow.
From a young age where I was learning some pretty nice information. So
that's awesome. Now, so what is like on your
It was on my
memory card?
Yeah,
in the
well,
camera?
you know, the old cameras that would flip open that had the tapes. You
Yep.
have to keep putting the tapes in there. And I end up, you know, for golf schools, I'd end up using mine. They'd use them sometimes, like filming Charlie Wee on the range. So I had a lot of like pretty cool stuff.
Do you still have that stuff?
I do.
Wow.
I still have that at home. Yeah. So as that was all happening, they were talking about, you know, building like it's like partnering up like some golf academies, and there was one in Erie, Pennsylvania called Golf Evolution. Not sure if you've heard of that.
Yep.
And that was, you know, one of Mike and Andy's friends was running it, and I went up there to be like the lead instructor.
Got it.
And I guess if you want to call it at the time, like maybe we were quote unquote like a certified Stack and Tilt Academy. I'm not 100% sure of that because we were called Golf Evolution, but we were teaching the system, the information. They came up there and did some stuff. So I was up there for just a short period of time because, you know, the season in Erie, Pennsylvania isn't that long.
Yeah.
I was there from, I want to say like late August, early September till maybe November. And
Okay.
I was planning on coming back the following year to start earlier in the spring because
Yep.
they had just built the academy there, and, you know, started talking to Dave Quinn some more. I'm like, Dave, why don't we just do something around here in the area? So we called Mike Mack up at Burlington. I think this is like 2009, 2010.
Okay.
And called Mike, talked about, you know, having, you know, one of their academies at Burlington. And Mike's like, man, that's a great idea. Let's do it. He ran it by the board. The board approved it. So then right away, I went right to Burlington and started teaching. And then
Nice.
I'd have Mike and Andy come down because they were still in the area. So once again, I'm going to some tour events, having them come down, learning from them.
So were you like their central location then at that point?
I guess you could say that because they were traveling so much. They didn't really have like a hub, quote
Okay.
unquote. So I would say, yeah, between everyone that was involved, if nobody at the time, they didn't really have like, I don't think a manager. So it was like me, Dave, we're kind of like handling, you know, some emails and some phone calls that they can't do. And yeah, we were running schools out of there all the time in the summer,
Nice.
twice a month when they were in town. And yeah, it went good. And then that opened it up the door to do something at Iron Horse Country Club in South Florida, West Palm Beach, with Mulaney Gunning. So Mulaney kind of ran the one in Florida. I was running the one at Burlington, but then I went back and forth for like 3 or 4 years. So we had 2 locations,
Wow.
one in South Florida, one in New Jersey. And once again, I was, you know, with them constantly.
So did you, I guess I'm trying to like figure this out. Did you just kind of like exert yourself into this and just kind of like create this job for you? Or was it like
kind of a little bit? Yeah. I mean, you know, the thing at home, definitely, it was kind of, you know, we had a good relationship with Mike.
Yep.
You know, Dave had worked at Burlington before. I had known Mike, and Mike thought it was great. Good publicity for the club, would attract more people to the facility, more members, you know, selling more clubs, and it worked out great. Because, you know, Burlington had the double-sided
Yeah.
range, so we were down at the bottom doing what we needed to do, and it worked out good. I was there for 5 years,
that's awesome, man.
for
I mean,
5
that's,
seasons.
That's that way to grind.
And the South Florida thing just came about because of Mulaney, who happened to be really good friends with Mike Bennett.
Yep.
She called Mike. Mike said, call me. And then we set that up down in South Florida.
Nice.
So for like 5 years, we had a pretty cool little thing, you know, going on.
That's awesome.
None like going to South Florida when you need to.
No, it was great in the wintertime. It was unbelievable.
It's great. It's unbelievable weather. You know, the people, they're you know, because they take that break in the summertime, so they just get ramped back up. You
Yep.
know, and I tell you what, it's fun. I mean, there are a lot of people that love golf down there, but at the same time, the opportunity to make money and to teach and everything is there 100%.
So I have a question about that. Where do you see people taking more lessons at, in up north or down south?
I would say, man, at that time, at that time period, probably a little bit more, for me personally, more up north, just because I had a little bit of a name at the time. You know, being from the area, you know, I knew a lot of junior players. I'd give the edge a slightly more at that time in the north.
Okay. Yeah, because I've always tried to like figure that out. Like, okay, like how much are my, and I ask members, but you know you don't always know, right? Like, well, you take a lot of lessons up here in the summer.
Yeah.
When you go down to Florida, are you doing that same thing, or are you
Yeah.
just down there just playing and having fun? You know, like because you're more around the beach and you know what I mean. Like the
it's more
environment's
like a
little different.
vacation.
Yeah.
That was kind of the way that I saw it. But at the same time, what we ended up doing is we were having more schools. People would want to take trips in the wintertime to get out of the bad weather. So we ended up doing like a couple 3-day schools, and then we would end one in early April, late March with a 5-day golf school.
Okay.
And the schools did great down. I would say more golf schools and clinics were better down in South Florida because of the travel. People wanted to get away.
Yep.
Where up north, you still had the schools, but it was more, your typical grind per day, because I think that's more maybe in season or when people want to practice.
Got it.
It's kind of the way that I found it during that time period.
And I think you got to look at, down south, you've got a lot of guys that will migrate down from the wintertime, and they're there till, April,
May.
May, and then, that's when it starts getting really hot, and those,
Then they'll come
most of the
back.
guys don't do anything, and then they come back. So I think there's a lot of teachers that migrate, and they have a lot of success doing that.
Yeah.
And, it shout out to that, because if you can get out of the north in the wintertime, I don't care if it's just cold or not snowing or anything like that. That's you've got the bread and the butter.
Yeah, that those couple of years, it was, for me, that was awesome. I was single, hadn't had nothing. It was just, basically almost like living out of your car, just popping back and forth. It's you wake up, what am I going to eat for dinner, and who am I teaching today? It's kind of like the mindset.
That's such a cool lifestyle. I wish I did something like that. Man, that's awesome.
It's a great part of the country. Florida has so many golf courses. There's so many opportunities, and I don't think I've yet to play at a course where I was like, can't believe I paid this money, or can't believe I just walked onto this place. It seems to be a mecca of good architects and good design and good drainage. I was there last week, and we got 7 inches of rain in one day, and I went out.
Happen.
I went out a day, 36 hours later, and it didn't seem like it had rained at all.
I guess that's Florida for you, huh?
All
It's
sand.
Gators, Joe.
No, this place has fortified walls. There's no way. The only way a gator gets in there if it's somebody's pet. Other than that, this place is fortified. The water is. You could go skinny dipping. There's nothing in these waters.
Love it. So, are you still involved then, Steve, with all the stack and tilt?
Oh yeah. I talked. Mike and Andy, they were good friends of mine. They're at my wedding. I talked to those guys all the time. I still have Andy come up to do some golf schools up at the Legacy Club. We've had him here in the summertime. Yes. The answer to the questions, talk
Nice.
to them routinely.
And if I'm jumping ahead a little bit, I apologize. Like, is there anything new coming out with stack and tilt?
I would just say that it's just more refined.
Okay.
The system, it's more refined, the way the joints work, real specifically how the joints in the body are working. That would be the newest thing. It's always, the whole system's always been built around the 3 fundamentals: control the low point, how far do you hit the ball, control the curves.
Yep.
And that's really where I think anyone that's really teaching is kind of following that progression. You have to have some type of an order or system in the way that you're teaching. That's the biggest thing I learned from them, what part to do at the time, like what order to teach in.
Yep.
That was the biggest eye-opening thing for me. Growing up, I'd always ask at dinner, why did you do this part first? Why didn't you do this? I was always questioning what was going on, and having those tapes back when I was young to really see the order and the progression has really, really helped, to dial in, what part is the most important part to help them the fastest first.
Got it.
I would say that'd be the biggest thing.
I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
If there's more you want to talk about your career and growing through your career, but can you walk us and the viewers more through that and like your teaching
Yeah,
philosophy?
yeah. So like I said, it's based on those, on those three fundamentals. And I would say that when we teach, we see it all the time. The club golfer, they have low point issues. They can't control where the club hits the ground. They typically don't hit the ball far enough to, shoot potentially lower score. Whereas on the tour, they always do 1 and 2. They always hit it solid. They always hit it far to shoot a score.
Yep.
It's the guys that can control the ball, put the ball in the fairway, put it on the green, obviously putt good, who play the best. So you're always working on those three. And typically, like I'll watch someone hit, I might start articulating their shots. Oh, hey, you hit behind that one. That one went to the right, so they can see the pattern. I think a lot of guys can't even see the pattern. They come in, I want to be more consistent. You hear that all the time, I want to be more consistent, where they have really no idea what their pattern is. Yep. And if you could help them see that, so you see right up, you hit behind, oh, your weight was back, or, you release the radius. Like here are 2 parts that control the low point, get them doing that part right. Yep. And then you can start sprinkling in the parts that maybe while they're slicing, some contact, some distance pieces, hit the ball further. But typically, as you know, if you get someone to hit the ball more solid, they're going to hit it further. They're finding the center of the face more often.
Of course,
but I would say that's really the progression that I would do it. And then, coaching a guy like Chris Crawford,
I wanted to bring that up later, but okay, keep going.
Well, yeah, typically with him, he hits the ball solid, hits it far, and he shoots good scores. It's always for him, how close to the hole can he hit it? Yep. Can he keep hitting the ball in the fairway to give himself his irons hitting it close to the hole? So with him, it's always a little bit of a battle of, okay, is he overhooking the ball? Typically, he'll miss it to the left, as you do at times, overhook it. Or sometimes he'll start maybe pushing or push fading. Yep. So it's always kind of honing those parts in. And then there's sometimes with him a little bit of contact parts to, he hits the ball in the heel sometimes. But it's a completely, different, a little bit different coaching someone that, shoots 64, where you're trying to get someone to break 90. Yep. I'm still following the same system, the same fundamentals, but you're just doing different parts of that system for that player.
Got it. So would you say that you give the same lesson every time?
No, not even close. Okay. Not even close, because you might have a guy come in at 10 o'clock, who has his wrist cupped, has the face open, hits across the ball with his weight back, low point back slicing. Yep. And then your 11 o'clock lesson has the club too far in, has the face too closed, has the exit highs hooking. Or you might do the 2 complete opposite lessons an hour after an hour. But I would say the biggest thing that I've learned is you have this model and you have this system, and you know how to problem solve within it. So not everybody's going to swing like the model. I mean, of course they don't. But you can pick and choose out, nope, this part's good. Here you go. Here's the part why you're hooking the ball. Here's the part why you're slicing. And because you have a model to work off of, you can interchange the parts much faster to get the student better faster.
And are you seeing a lot of success with that, with your students improving rapidly?
I wouldn't say rapidly, but I get busier every year. So, I must be doing something right.
Yep. Yeah. No, of course. No, I mean, I've worked for a bunch of different golf pros, and, everyone has their own opinion of everything.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I hear people say a lot, oh, well, methods don't work. And I like what you're saying.
Well, it's not a method; it's a system.
Yeah, exactly. It's more of, and that's where I think people mistaken it as a method to a system.
I mean, the alphabet's a system. Yeah. You pick the letters to form your words. Yeah. Right. I have a system. I have a template, and I'm problem solving within that. Yeah. So it's not even close to, teaching everybody the same thing.
Yeah, that's why I asked that question to just.
I will say, when you start boiling it down, if you took 15 guys on the tour and you took 15 guys that can't break 100, right, you're going to see patterns. You're going to see the guys that can't break 100 have this pattern. You're going to see the guys on the tour have this pattern. So the players that are the best actually move more similar than they do differently. The players that can't break 100 are going to move the opposite. Yeah. You see that picture going around on the internet sometimes of Furyk. It's like Furyk's high left arm, Matt Kuchar's low left arm, and like Tiger Woods, being quote unquote the model. Yep. And everybody's looking at that picture, and they say, oh man, those things are way different. They're really more similar. The things that they see differently are their wrist, how, you know, Furyk's arm's up, Kuchar's is really low. But when you really boil it down to how their tilts are, how their bodies are working, you get those guys' graphs on a 3D system, they're going to friggin' look the same. If you didn't have the names next to them, you're like, man, those 3 guys are the same.
Right.
But you have these, like, this little bit of the high arm or the wrist, like the little intricate details, and they see that, oh, no, he's doing something different.
Yep.
Where it's really the way that they're moving the body and the positions are really, really similar.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I keep seeing this video of Rory's robotic swing.
Yeah.
And everybody that tries to mimic it, he gets really low at a release point. But if you watch him swing, he's really not that low.
Mm-hmm. No,
it's not as low as that, like, they're taking it.
I agree.
Like, they take it so low to where it's like, how is he not hitting 7 inches or 8 inches behind the ball?
Yeah.
And it's like you see his actual golf swing, he's not dipping that low. Like, it's funny to me. So, you know, it's funny that you mentioned that, is that you see stuff and then you actually see the golfer and it's like, it's a little weird.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
So do you work with gears then to get some of the information, or?
No, me personally, no. Do I understand the gear system? Not quite how to use it, to be honest with you, but I could understand the data. I can interpret the data from gears. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I have a good friend of mine, Mike Manavian, who has a gears machine, and I ask him all the time, hey, do you have this guy's picture? Can you send me this? Just to keep seeing the data.
I follow him on social. I love his stuff.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He really knows how to work that machine really, really good. I've been on gears. It's cool, you know, it's really cool to see all the intricate details and really dive into it.
Do you notice, like, hey, you're working on X or Y in your golf swing, is that then showing up on gears?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, you'll see it. Or you'll see, oh crap, I need to do more of, you know, you'll see the bad stuff on there. Like, oh, this makes sense to why I'm, you know, hooking the ball too much or you know, whatever. That system's the best.
I went to take a golf lesson on gears a couple weeks ago, and the person never put me on it. And they said, you don't need to see it on gears. I'm going to tell you, which I didn't appreciate, but I've always wanted to get on there so I can, like, know, like, okay, well, is what I'm trying to do actually happening or not? You know, like, you hear that feel and reel.
Oh yeah,
a lot.
Yep.
You know, and I like to try to exaggerate feels so I can get there.
Yep.
It, for me personally, helps me get there faster. Do you do things like that with your students as well?
Yeah. Yep. I'll say that, you know, you'll take the picture. I'll always use a camera. It's a communication tool.
Yep.
I basically film almost every ball during every lesson, pretty much, at least 90% of them. And then you'll just keep constantly checking, you know, going back to that example of the left arm being too far out or the face open. Hey, Mr. Smith, look, here it is. Your left arm's too far out. Your face is still open. You know, got to keep it in more. Got to close the face. Hits the next ball, goes to the right. Show them the picture. Look, went to the right. Still not enough. And then you know how it is. You start getting them to exaggerate it, and then they do one just about normal. The ball flies straight or curves to the left. You show them the picture, and they can't believe it. Like, you got to be kidding me. I felt like I was down by my waist, and it's like right where the alignments are supposed to be.
Yep.
But knowing, and it goes back to that point of knowing what to teach and in what order. You know, give them the right feels or the right drills, control the environment so the student, you know, can really get better. And obviously having a camera system, I think, is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, I think gears is awesome. But if you really can understand the data in 3D, like if you really understand it, you can see it in 2D.
Yeah. Well, it's like we were just saying over there, like, you can watch somebody swing with the TrackMan and kind of call out their numbers as they're going.
Yeah, you can get if you can, you know, really see those numbers closely on the 2D and see what the ball does. You can get pretty close to, you know, guessing pretty good at some of those numbers.
Well, the other thing is the ball's not going to lie.
No, the ball doesn't.
Right.
I've had times where, you know, the TrackMan numbers spit out a little bit incorrectly, but yeah, I hear you on that.
Yeah, you know, and that's, I mean, to me, that's
the ball tells you what you need to do.
Yeah.
That's where you're working from. What's the ball? I always, someone comes in for a lesson, and you can kind of tell if they know what they're talking about or not. The guys that come in, I want to be more consistent. When they start saying like this and that, and they're not using specific words, they don't have a fucking clue what they're talking about. Right?
We're rated R on here, so you can curse. Don't worry about it.
But then you have a guy, like Chris comes in, and he goes, I keep pull drawing these balls in the right to left wind. Like specific pull draw right to left wind, where you don't hear people talk like, you know what I mean? When you're giving a lesson, they don't really say the specific thing.
I call it golf IQ.
Yeah. I remember I was with Martin Hall one time watching him teach, and he did a great job when I watched him, but he was saying the same thing. He whispered to me, this guy's not a goddamn clue what he's doing. And you could tell by the way he was talking about it. So I think it's important too, when I'm using the camera, you can start communicating better to teach them, so when they leave, they have an idea, that ball sliced to the right. Oh man, my arm wasn't in enough. I didn't have the face closed enough. They can start to like kind of problem solve on their own, where they're not, picking something out of the next YouTube clip or Golf Digest. Let me try this, and we know how that's going to go.
Is there not a better feeling to take somebody that is struggling on the range and you can see it, and just tweaking a couple things, and then seeing the result getting better?
Oh yeah.
And then seeing it light up in their face, and it's like they now kind of get it.
There's times where you might have a guy come in that in my experience, he's like a 16, right? He says he's a 16, but you look at the swing, and you're like, this should be like a 7. Mm-hmm. You see it, but they don't know how the whole thing operates. And it's almost sometimes more of having like a half-hour conversation with them. They're like, no, you don't need to do this. You're doing this part fine. If you can just focus on these 2 parts, the ball is going to do X. If you do these 2 parts together, here's what the ball is going to do. And then all of a sudden, like, oh my God, it's simple in your mind. Where I think those are the more important conversations with a guy, player like yourself, or if Tiger Woods called me up for a lesson, I think it'd be like a 6-hour conversation, explain to him how the parts work. Like, oh, I got it.
Right.
I get it now. Because you've had it too. You might give out one tip, or you might do something like on Instagram, where a person replies back, oh man, that was exactly my problem. You ironed it out. I can see it now. I think getting people to really see the pattern and understand what to do really helps more than, hey, do this with your arm. You need to do this with your arm, but here's what the ball is going to do, to really dive into the details and explain it.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because I was playing with a buddy of mine who's a member at this club, and, we had a 30 minutes before, and I was tired of hitting golf balls, so I was sitting in the cart watching him hit golf balls.
Yeah.
And just watching him just slice after slice after slice. And, not to get into details, but I basically was like, in your mind, think 50% swing. Think you're swinging at 50%. Because he was bringing it back like John Daly style.
Yeah.
And I said, close your club face just a hair. Just a hair.
Yeah, and shorten your swing probably.
And we got out there, and he was hitting his driver, his 3-wood. He was hitting every club just to a perfect nice little fade for him. And he just turned around and looked at me every time. Just this look on his face like, this is what golf is really about. Yep. Where before, he's worried about hitting the houses that are on the property. And in fact, he actually hit his own house on the 9 we were playing. But those little things, like watching somebody do that, it's like that's the spark in me that gets me, that keeps me going, saying, hey, man, this is a fun game, and if you can just make somebody have just a little bit more fun, it's going to only get better.
Yep.
Yeah, of course.
There's no doubt. And then they're hooked.
Yeah, for me, like a lot of my teaching, I do a lot of putting for teaching, but, when I'm doing full swings, I'm really making people just aware.
Yeah.
Just giving them that full awareness of what they have going on.
I think that's more than half the battle, because I don't think they have any idea sometimes what they're doing.
Yeah.
I played a Pro-Am years ago. Remember the Pro-Am for Wishes?
Yep.
I was paired with Mike Missinelli.
Oh, nice.
And great guy. We had a great time, but he had a tough time that day. And we got done the round. I took him on the driving range. I took some pictures of him. I said, Mike, what are you trying to do? He goes, I'm trying to draw it. You sure about that? So I said to him. He goes, yeah, I'm trying to draw. I said, Mike, it looks to me like you're trying to slice every ball.
Yeah.
He's got this weak grip. He's got the face open. He's got his hands back, lifts his arm up, opens the face. And I showed him the pictures, and I showed him another picture of a guy who's drawing. And I said, Mike, these are the opposite. He started laughing. Kind of have his personality. He started laughing. I'm like, you're trying to slice. Look at like the way in my head, you're doing every ingredient possible to hit a slice.
Yep.
So that was a fun 20 minutes on the range. Just an eye-opening experience, like you said with your putting. You're trying to show them the pattern, make them see the pattern, so they can at least self-correct or have an idea what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. So how, like, if I came to, let's say I'm a 10 handicap, and I come to you for a lesson. What should I anticipate? Like, obviously, I'm in it for the long haul. I want to become a scratch golfer, right?
Yep.
Like, do I get on a program with you? Like, how does that work? How do you approach those situations? How long should I anticipate being a student of yours to get to that goal?
I would say that we could put together possibly some type of a program, but really most of the time. I would say people will come, hour, 2 hours, depending on what you want to do. I think sometimes 2 hours is pretty good for the first meeting to kind of like lay it all out.
Yep.
But constantly, I try to keep in communication with most of the students via email, text, or whatever, sending pictures back and forth.
Yep.
But I'll always, before each lesson or after the lesson, make a lot of pictures, before and after pictures with some details or like a voiceover. Here's what to do in your swing, so that they have that. So when they leave, if they struggle, everyone has a smartphone now, a camera phone. You take a picture and test it to the picture that I showed you that we were doing.
Got it.
Then you can kind of start going off that to how to control the ball.
Got it.
If you're hitting behind the ball, okay, here's where you're hitting behind. Here's the picture of you not hitting behind. Here's a model. You have this stuff now to kind of go through with that. And then we'll just keep chipping away. Then, maybe the next time I see them, they're hitting the ball better, but maybe they're having the curve issue.
Got it.
Or, they're putting bad. They need a green reading help. So you're kind of, constantly chipping away at it. But I typically would say, you can really help someone pretty good if you know what you're doing. I would say in a couple sessions.
Yep.
Especially if they're going to practice.
Yeah.
That's always that's always the tough part. By the end of the time, you could get them to at least understand it and maybe do a little bit better. But if they're not going to put the time in the practice, then
I heard this somewhere. I don't even remember where, and I don't remember when. But someone said if you're not changing a player's pattern, you're not teaching them. Do you agree with that?
I would say, well, once again, it goes back to the ball.
Yep.
You're trying to change the ball pattern.
Yep.
You honestly, the way that they move their body may potentially not change, but if you can start getting their thinking to change and their logic about what they're doing and thinking of the right things, that's huge. I think that's a bigger part of it. I've seen, guys out on the tour. It's late on Wednesday. They're struggling. Hey, Mike or Andy, can I have some help? And they might just explain to him one little thing. Draw the diagram out. Here's you put the ball here, put the handle here. Here's what the ball is expected to do. And you're not really changing too much, but you change your thought and how they think, and the pattern changes right away. The ball flight pattern changes.
Yep.
The motor programs, that takes probably a little bit more time. But once again, if you're thinking of the right things, if you're understanding how these joints are working, how to move your arm around, and you understand it, you can change that much faster. I'm a big advocate on educating the person first, making them move their body in the right position. Because you hear this nonsense all the time. Oh, I'm not flexible enough to, you hear it all the time. Now there's times where that is true.
Yeah.
There are a lot of cases.
There are. But,
there are a lot of cases.
But if you can explain to them how to move their body the right way and give them the right cues, they can change that thing in a couple swings. I've had 6-year-old guys change their club head speed by 5-6 miles an hour in one swing just by telling them how their body's supposed to work.
Yep. Yeah.
I haven't had that success. It's like, hey, I need you to the old put the alignment stick. Hey, I need you to be here. I need you to be here.
Right.
I say walk around the house, practice it.
Yep.
When then the next lesson. Hey, did you practice it? No, I didn't.
Yeah.
And
There's
I think
a reason
that's
he's a top instructor.
well, yeah, but
Yeah.
I know you probably run into the same
All the
thing.
time.
It's like, hey, have you been practicing?
All
No.
the time.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, all right, well, we're talking about the same thing for the same amount of money tonight.
So, and that's I want to talk about this a little bit because this is part of why I designed Clubhouse 54.
Yeah.
Is to hold people accountable. And do you feel there's enough of that in the golf world versus just, hey, like, I'm going to watch what I say, but,
Yeah.
I think that a lot of teachers have a lot of good information.
Absolutely.
Right. But are we all holding all the students accountable because we have too many students sometimes? Right. And is it hard to do that? Or is it just people in general, you just can't really get them to do what you want them to?
I think sometimes it's a combination of both the teacher and the student. I think it really goes back to that communication part and under training them what to do. That's why the camera is so valuable, to be able to show them the pattern, show them here's the problem, really get them to understand the pattern, and you can make the changes happen faster. But yeah, I mean, I see that same thing. Did you practice? Did you do your drill at home for 10 minutes at all? And it's 50-50.
Do you think like YouTube and all that stuff has a lot to do with people not practicing because they're just like, all right, well, that didn't work. Let me just go to something different.
I can see that, but once again, I keep hammering that part of really going through the information thoroughly to try to explain to them, here's what you need to do. I mean, listen, we get fired all the time. Like, someone could leave you, maybe they're not playing that great or whatever. But at the end of the day, geometry is geometry. If you don't change these pictures, the ball's not going to curve the proper way.
Yeah.
I don't really care, how you think about it.
Yeah.
You're going to have to make these pictures work. I mean, I can't change the math.
And I'm not big on the YouTube videos and
No,
all that.
no.
It's like,
No.
I will never, unless it's a parody of me making fun of somebody or doing something stupid or being caught on camera doing something stupid.
We have a couple of those clips.
I will not ever, I watch them, I see them, and I'm like, 10 seconds in, it's like, next, it's like.
I'll pay attention to it, obviously, because it's my livelihood. But I like reading the articles in Golf Digest. I like seeing the pictures, and you'll have page 78 says something, and then page 94 says the opposite.
Yeah.
And I like seeing, I like to try to predict the future. What's going to happen? Like, who's this going to help and who's this going to hurt? And you can kind of already foresee what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, you can clearly see that, 335 views. What are you really reaching, and what time are you doing trying to spread, let's call it the gospel of golf? What are you really trying to accomplish? Unless you really have a following, unless you're really big. I mean, I don't even think my favorite teacher out there, no disrespect, George Gankus.
Yeah.
I don't think he's not my favorite, but I just love his name. I don't even think his videos, he's not a YouTuber. Anytime that he is on video, it does get views because of who he is.
Yeah.
But he's not putting out that kind of content. And I think the guys that are putting out content are a little desperate. Just a hair. Just a hair.
I mean, it's advertising too. I mean,
it is.
You got to look at it that way.
I
too.
get it, but when you're in a big market, man, you're just a small little fish trying to nibble.
I mean, that's part of why I asked Steve the question earlier. Do you just give the same golf lesson over and over again? And obviously the answer is no, right? Because everyone's different.
Well, I knew the answer to that question.
Of course.
No.
Of course.
Because everybody is different.
But based on my experience with what people, think stack and tilt is that it's a method and everyone gets the same lesson, which it's not, right? But that's part of why I asked him that, because for me, like, I don't do really any kind of thing on YouTube or any of that stuff because I don't think I can help everybody, and I think it can hurt people if they see that because it's just not something that is in their pattern. So,
well, the worst is giving a lesson and then a guy coming in saying, "Hey, I saw this online. and I started to do this, and it's kind of working for me. What do you think?"
But that's where Steve's method is.
Well, then you'd have to spend maybe 20 minutes either saying yes, that's right, or going through and debunking it to show them the proper.
Unless
proper
they're telling me, "Hey, I saw this on Club Pro Guy, and this is what he said." I am not. I'm gonna be like, "He's right. Stick with it." Other than that, it's like, and I don't run into that a lot. At least they don't tell me that. At least, so but. I think that world, there is an audience for it if you are somebody.
Yeah.
But a lot of those somebodies aren't doing that. The Leadbetters, they're not getting on YouTube to give tutorials or anything. If they are, it's somebody filming them to do it.
Yeah, it's a sponsorship or an
You're exactly right.
or something like that.
You're exactly right.
I think you have to put some stuff out there. Like, you can put some basic stuff out there, and it's good information. I mean, look, you just have to know that it's not going to be for everybody. And that's where, like, I tell my students all the time, I said, if you're looking at it to educate yourself and try to learn something new, okay, like, I think that's good for you to do then. But don't go do it and then say, hey, that guy didn't know what he was talking about. Yeah. Because how do you know that that's what you should be doing?
By the way,
just gather the information, like you're saying, right? Like, let's get a little bit more aware of what is happening and how the swing's supposed to work.
I need you to dial back your lesson on my boy Justin. You need to stop letting him hit it further on the tee. He's dialed in. He's hitting the ball far off the tee, and I need you to make it stop.
You're welcome. By the way, that was a free lesson too. By the way, that was a fitting that I turned into a lesson.
Who was it?
It's one of my buddies. We have a crew. There's 3 lefties and a righty. The righty just sticks out, but the me and this one guy Justin, he's been bugging Michael to get him a driver fitting, and he's hitting a Strixon driver now. But he's been sold on to a Titleist.
Yep. And
you got to stop, man. Just do something that makes him start hitting the ball left or right.
I'll just tell him to stop coming.
No, because he's already learned enough from you. He's already learned enough. So I need you to either tell him his grip is too strong, or do something.
You
please.
got it, Drew. So Steve, I want to know what your favorite story is with Mike and Andy.
Oh God.
If you have one.
There's a bunch of them. Man.
Anything that jumps out, like at a tour event or sleeping on their hotel floor room. There's a bunch of good. Sorry to throw you on the spot like that.
No.
You got him.
This is good.
Probably a good memory was when we were out in Scottsdale. We were constantly traveling around. We were there that week with Troy Madison, and it was Wednesday. It was Wednesday afternoon, and he's sick. He's not feeling very well. This is 2009 Fry's Open. He's not feeling very well. He won't shake anybody's hand. He's not feeling good. And we fly home. Me and Andy fly home on the same flight that night after doing the Monday, Tuesday practice with him. He just wanted to chip and hit bunker shots on Wednesday. Didn't really do anything, so it wasn't feeling good. On the ride from the golf course to the airport, Andy left his camera in 3 different spots in the rental car, on the trolley bus to go get it. So I ended up finding it all time. Every time here, Andy, left your camera again. Get on the flight home. He's sitting in first class. I'm sitting back on row like 30 on the back of the plane. It's a night flight. It's a red eye. The stewardess is walking down the aisle with this R9 black tailor-made visor. I'm all the way in the back. Like, can I please have that? Get off the plane. Andy, where's your visor? I know, I lost it. Give it to him. So he loses all that, right? It's a long week. So the next day, Thursday, Troy plays bad. I think he shoots like 1 or 2 over. But then Friday, Saturday, he goes 61-61. Sets the PGA Tour scoring record that week. That I was there. It's pretty cool that I was there. Then Sunday, he shoots a good score, gets into a playoff for the tournament. And he's on the tee, and I see he pulls out this ping 3-wood that he hated. Had a weak shaft in it. and I'm watching the play at home with my parents. I'm like, he's gonna hook it. He hooks the crap out of this thing every time he hits it. Hooks it in the left bunker. It's just it was cool. Like I knew what the ball was probably gonna do before he hit it.
Yep.
Ends up winning the playoff. So the fact like I was there that week, had these cool experiences, slept on the hotel floor, Andy's losing his gear, it was funny. And then knowing the insights about Troy being sick, setting the 36-hole scoring record and kind of like being a small part of that was pretty cool. That's probably my favorite story.
That's awesome.
Just to see him win and watch the play.
And that was the Waste Management?
That was the 2009 Fries.com Open.
Oh, Fries, okay.
That was at Greyhawk.
Okay.
Yeah. It was just cool to, be a part of it. Filming the swings for the week, holding the camera, just being there was pretty cool.
Did you have any influence on any of the instruction, or was it just strictly
I was an intern.
Okay.
I was out there. I was shutting the fuck up. I mean, they're not my students.
Yep.
I did. There are times where like maybe I would go, walk 9 holes with Charlie or Eric Axley at the time, and then they were over practicing with Dean, and they're walking down the fairway, and they might have mishit the ball, and I knew what the answer was. I'd answer their question, but most of the time when I was out there, I was quiet.
Was that cool with those guys?
Yeah,
you did answer the question.
Yeah. Some were, at the time. Remember, I'm 22 years old.
Yep.
I'm just out of college, so I just was not doing anything. Some of the guys were cool that I was closer with. Some of them I just knew to shut the fuck up.
Got it.
So. But no, it was a great experience. Learned a lot those couple of years that I did that.
What did you learn about a tour player during that time?
Man, they're interesting. You got to kind of know, I think who you're talking, which guy you're talking to, who wants to be coached hard, who wants to be massaged. There's more massaging out there, I think, than there really is like drilling the parts in there.
Got it.
I think the more relaxed they feel.
There's no doubt, but but if you don't practice hard Monday and Tuesday, and Wednesday evening rolls around and you're still hooking the ball, well, you didn't practice hard on Monday or Tuesday, so really, what do you expect?
Right.
So they might be relaxed, but then by the time, the bell rings, if they don't know what that ball's doing, they're tense. Because at that time, if you miss the cut, you weren't making any money. Now I think if you have your tour card and you miss a cut, I think you still get paid. And on top of it, I think you get a salary now on the tour.
Yeah.
That's kind of weak. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean,
get a salary.
I think all sports are going in that type of direction.
To answer your question, it really depends on who you're with. When you're towards the end of the year, that FedEx Cup event, and you're not doing well, you see the guys out there hammering away, grinding. Like saw last year, Justin Thomas playing that Wyndham tournament.
Oh yeah.
He was trying to make the Ryder Cup team. So you definitely want to be relaxed. You don't want to be too up tense, but you also have to know what you're doing.
Now, do you share that with your students and like a guy like Crawford?
Yeah. He wants to be coached hard though.
Okay.
So I'll tighten the screws on him he knows that. We have a pretty good relationship. He's been a phenomenal student. He's never argued anything. If there's a problem, he asks. If there's a question, he asks. Everything I've asked him to do, he's done.
So how did that relationship come about, and what did you do with him? Because he had a lot of success coming in.
Yeah, I mean, he'd played
in
a couple U.S. Opens. He was already pretty good resume. Really, I would say for about a year, maybe less than a year, Dinda was helping him.
Yeah.
Mike would text me the pictures. I would tell Mike what to tell Chris. That's kind of how it went for a while.
Okay.
And Mike finally was like, Chris, I can't tell you more. You go see Steve.
Yep.
And I remember the first time we ever met, we were working on he needed to take the hook off the ball. He hooked the ball too much.
Yep.
And he had a high exit. He had too much twist of the face coming through, too much screwdriver, and he would overhook the balls. And at the time, he was trying to keep opening up his body more to get the club to exit left. But all that was doing was, as he was opening, was pinning the club more behind him. So I had to explain to him what to do, how to stay closed, how to move your humerus bone around you while keeping your wrist and shaft the same to not hook. And we hit freaking balls for like 2.5 hours hard. I mean, we hit these balls hard. And I remember right afterwards, he did great. he even said he hadn't hit drivers that hard for a while.
Nice.
And we were just pounding these balls. He went over to play golf with 2 friends of mine at Tavistock. I think Dinda was there too. And Mike called me, asked me how it went. I said, Mike, he's probably going to set the course record today. I said that to him. I said, he might set the course record. I think he was 7 under through 11.
Wow.
And they called him off because of lightning.
Oh, wow.
It was freaking crazy.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, he's had good, good success. It all started really with Mike. Since we started practicing together, he got full status on the Latin America tour. He had a couple 54-hole leads. I think he shot under 65 7 or 8 times on that tour. Hasn't closed the deal yet, but he's had the lead a few times through 54 holes.
It's not easy to win a golf tournament.
No, it's not. And so, finished in the top 20 on Latin money list last year. That got him exempt now to second stage at Q School. He has that next week. He's playing pretty good. He just missed Monday qualifying for the RSM by a shot a week ago.
Oh, wow.
So he's doing good. I mean, he shot 64 in a mini tour event, I think, 2 weeks ago. I think his game's in a good spot to get to third stage. He missed third stage last year by 2 or 3 shots.
Okay.
And I think he's a better player now than he was then.
Nice.
So I think he'll get through, but you know how golf is, man.
It's so much harder now.
You never know.
It's so much harder because what is it? Used to be, you get through the first stage and you've got a card.
Well, he's exempt to second because of his Latin status.
Right
now, for him, if he just gets to third, if he just could get to third stage, he'll have some status in the Corn Ferry. He'll get a few starts.
Yeah.
It'll be limited, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah, of course.
And it's an opportunity to go out and play.
Yeah, I mean, you could play one event on the Corn Ferry Tour and you finish 10th. I think that would get you in the next week, and you can kind of just play your way on. You can have a hot month. You have a hot month, and that thing takes off.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been fun watching him. When did this all start for him? It started, 16, right? 2016?
I think his first US Open was Oakmont, I believe.
Yeah,
is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think that was 2016.
I don't know.
I think.
Yeah, was that the one DJ won? If that was the one DJ won, then that was 16.
Yeah, it was 16.
Yeah, I think he went Oakmont, Whistling Straits, maybe.
Aaron Hills.
Okay, yeah, Aaron Hills.
I believe.
And then he was an alternate last year at LA Country Club. So that was either there might be one more, but I'm not sure of the timeline.
It's a great journey, and it's fun to see somebody that's local.
Yeah.
From Philadelphia.
Yeah, went to Drexel. Yeah, I mean, it's good. I mean, his swing's good. He works hard on it. I know the biggest thing was kind of his putting over the last year, but that's really gotten, Mike's helped him out with the putter or with his putting. He went to the Makefield putter, got fit for it right, and that's really helped him a lot. His putting has been much more consistent ever since making those switches, because his hitting's gotten better. He's hitting more fairways, hitting more greens.
Nice.
Getting more birdie opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, I think for all of us, right, and for Philadelphia golf, I mean,
you
got Brandon Matthews, right, but he's up in like the Poconos more, right? Obviously, he goes to Temple.
Yeah.
Jim Furyk, but we don't really have like a
Real
Philadelphia
he's
guy that got out onto the PGA Tour in a really long time.
I think he has a good chance.
Yeah,
I think he has a real good chance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely rooting for him, and I think we all are.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. So I hope nothing but success for you and him, and for Mike, and he gets it done. This year. Next week, you said it's Q School?
Yeah, it's in Georgia, second stage next week.
Nice. Now, do you go with him, or will you travel down there for that?
No, I'm sure we'll text back and forth. Mike will be down. Dinda's going to caddy for him, so he'll probably send me some swings or any questions. No, the only tournaments I've gone to him, I went to the U.S. Open in L.A. and then Matitaconk. He Monday qualified for that Corn Ferry event at Matitaconk back in August, and I was up there for a day or two.
Cool.
To help him out.
Now, do you have other students that are like the similar status to him, or working towards that?
Yeah, I have a bunch of good, real good junior players. They're a long way from being that good.
Okay.
But no, he's by far the best professional player that I help, and then I have a lot of good junior players. One just won Player of the Year for 13 to 15
Nice.
Then the other one won 16 to 18 scoring average on the Philly Junior Tour.
Oh, that's great.
So some good kids, some good young kids. I coached one that won 2 gap majors this year.
Nice.
The junior majors.
Awesome.
Do you prefer teaching juniors versus?
Honestly, I don't care if you're a 25 handicap. As long as you want to get better, I'll sit out there in freaking 100-degree heat. It's the people that, like, you know, come and they're, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like, they want to be there, but they don't. I could care less. I mean, I have just as much fun helping, you know, Chris shoot 64 as I do someone breaking 90.
Right.
If they care about it.
I think for me, you know, I've kind of found my niche in junior golfers. You know, depending on their age, I've found out, you know, throughout the years that, you know, if you've got a 9 or 10-year-old, you get about that many minutes in a 30-minute lesson out of their attention span. So the rest of the time you've got to think of ways to continually make them better, but have games for them. Yeah. You know,
you got to keep them interested.
And, you know, I'd say, you know, my success has come from, you know, not just teaching them about golf, but like teaching them about life. And, you know, you don't run into that a lot, but
you'll grow up fast on the golf course. I'll tell you that.
You're 100%.
Yeah, go to a country club, become a member.
You'll
somewhere.
grow up fast.
So, you know, I enjoy that. You know, it's not that I don't enjoy teaching adults. I just feel like there's more, hey, it's great to see you this week kind of attitude.
It also depends too, because I agree. I like teaching the kids, but there's times where you can also see that the kid's forced there because the parent. I've had that happen to me, and that's when I've had a couple lessons where I'm, you know, an hour. I typically on mine are an hour, a little longer, where for an hour, that kid might say 4 words. Yeah. How can you have some type of a dialogue or explain, you know, what to do if there's no questions or any back and forth? Yeah. Those are the worst. Well, I'd almost rather pay them here. Don't come.
Yeah.
Like, don't come.
Yeah. Here's my what do they call those little Nintendo little games? Here, just play this and just leave me alone.
I know.
That's part of why I started like doing interviews with students and with the parents with juniors.
Yeah.
Like, well, okay, do you want them to do this or do they want to do this?
I know. It's tough to do that sometimes too. You know that.
It's
a hard conversation that kind of needs to be done at times.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's more of like when the parent comes to you and says, hey, my son's not getting better at golf. It's like, well, all right, let's have the conversation now. Yeah. You know, it happens from time to time, but.
What's your biggest ick? I know that's a
like my biggest pet peeve on the driving range,
or just teaching.
I would say my biggest pet peeve on the driving range just goes back to the conversation we had with they know what they're doing or not. You know, you get there, you have your alignment sticks set up, you have your station, you have your balls, and you have your camera. Everything's all set, ready to go. And the student shows up, they pick the alignment rod up, throw it off to the side, put the balls in different spots, start hitting, and I'm just sitting back there like, man, this guy doesn't have a goddamn clue what he's doing. I can't stand that.
Do you not see the work I put into this? I set this up for a reason.
That's my biggest pet peeve. You can tell, like, they don't aim. And then you got a good junior player that comes, they lay their alignment stick down, they're aiming, and you can say, okay, well, here's part of the reason why he's good. He's at least paying attention to what he's doing. Yeah. And then you got the other guy, they're just raking the balls and whacking them out there.
That's what I am. I'm the rake the balls and whack them guy.
Yeah, but you're a little different because you just might be doing it just to, like, get loose. But then when it's time, you aim, you have a routine.
Of course.
I get that.
Of course.
I think one of mine is, and this is going towards somebody that's an adult, is letting them know when you're on a grass, you know, driving range, hey, this is the appropriate way to hit balls for divots.
Yeah.
To keep it clean. And then you show them and they do it, and then you go walk by them as they're just practicing, and it looks like, you know, a bomb went off.
A 6-year-old was there just whacking.
You're exactly right. And it's like,
that's really difficult for people for some reason. I haven't figured that one out yet.
Yeah.
I almost feel bad when I'm on a nice grass range and I take an explosive divot. Yeah. And it's like, I almost feel bad about it because then it's like, all right, how am I going to make this in a straight line? Yeah. Or how am I going to make this look like I just didn't throw a firecracker down here.
Well, grass does grow back,
It-
but
it-
it grows back easier when you do it the right way
Exactly.
and faster.
You know, I think I saw a picture on some social media outlet, and it showed, you know, for the listeners, they won't be able to see, but all the lines were at a diagonal on the range, and they weren't straight ahead.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, you know, something was like, sorry, I was aiming wrong or something like that. But it's like, I appreciate those lines because you can replace those easier than just it being just one big mess. You know, and that's one of my biggest pet peeves is range etiquette.
This is where you need to go on YouTube, Drew, and do a video.
No.
on this.
Yeah,
Come
I
on,
don't.
Drew. There's your YouTube right there.
No. I just
That
need,
would be a hit.
It would be a hit.
I need to somehow collab with Club Pro Guy.
with your Mason Dixons or High Noons or whatever
there
you
you
feel
go.
like drinking that
Well,
day.
no. See, what I need to do is collaborate with Club Pro Guy. I'll show my face. He doesn't have to show his face, which would be funny.
Yeah.
And we'll do a range etiquette of what you're not supposed to do at the driving range. I think that would be great.
good.
There you
Reach
go.
out, CBG.
That's great.
That would be good. That would be something sent to a lot of clubs that need to do that.
What do you think of in I know you're in the teaching business, but is it from a head pro or a teaching professional or a PGA professional? What do you think about some of these clubs and some of their social media accounts and some of the stuff that they do? Do you see a fine line of it working, or do you see a fine? And this is a wild question, but do you see it something that could benefit a club, or do you see it maybe being just something that people are doing?
You say like they're like a club has an Instagram account or
Oh yeah, when you see a guy, and this is a shout out to Chris from Hermitage Golf Course in Tennessee, where I'm from. He's got an account where people are calling in asking just the monotonous questions.
Okay.
Is it raining there? It's like, sir, you live on the 12th hole. Is it raining at your house?
Oh yeah, okay.
You know,
all right.
those kind of things.
Yeah.
Do you see that being something that could benefit? A teacher or a golf course, or do you just see it just something that people are doing?
I think it's funny.
Oh, I think it's hilarious.
I think it's if you're talking about like an account like that where they're calling up and they're just asking ridiculous questions and they're the golf pros taking the questions. I think it's really funny. I don't know how
because Manolo, everybody knows Manolo.
Yeah.
He had a very strong start.
Yeah.
About how teaching and how to hit the ball, and he would somehow make it funny with his Spanish accent, but it's died off.
Yeah,
you don't see him anymore.
Not as much.
But another thing that I wanted to also think about is, does the club really want you to do that? If you're at a nice club, do they really want to have that kind of?
My guess would be probably not.
That was my thing. It's like, what club is going to allow you? And that's why, again, Hermitage Golf Course, I'm surprised at that they would allow that kind of stuff.
Is that a private facility?
No, it's not.
That's probably why.
But I've seen a lot.
I would think if you're talking about like on those lines, I would say the most of the clubs, the private clubs, would probably not want that. We're more public. Yeah, maybe that attracts more people to go there. It's funny, I think it's your clientele and your audience.
Yeah, it's a form of marketing. I mean, they're just marketing there. I mean,
maybe if you're doing that like for member guest, like for fun, like a fun
it's entertainment.
Yeah, for a fun event, it's that'd be fine. But if it's like constant, maybe not. I'm not sure the answer to that question.
Okay. It was a wild one,
Yeah.
and I get that. But, that's where I come from.
Drew's just talking. That's all. He's just talking.
There are some very thoughts behind me talking. Don't just say, oh, he's just talking.
It's kind of just talking there. That's okay.
I don't just talk.
So what kind of goals do you have moving forward, Steve?
Drew's just talking. All right, so let's get back serious.
Honestly, I would like to. I'd like to, have a couple more guys, like Chris Crawford status. I'd like to have a few guys on Corn Ferry, maybe on the PGA Tour, a couple, and continue to just help grow the business, grow my business in the area. help attract more people to the Legacy Club. I always look at it as if I can get bigger, I can help the club get bigger as well. So I'd like to have a couple of guys on the tour, continue to keep teaching the members, teaching a lot of good juniors, and then ultimately down the line have my kids maybe, play at a high level.
Nice.
That's really what I would like to do.
Do you think that you getting bigger and better has its negativity as far as club work goes? I mean, I have seen some guys do really well, play really well, and it not be received very well.
I guess it's a double-edged sword, really. It could go either way. I guess, but I would say that if it did go that way, and there could always be another spot where someone's going to want to have a top person in the door.
Right.
That's the way I would look at it.
And that's
it also depends. Sorry to cut you off,
go.
on the way that it's presented. How. I think George does a great job. Works hard at the driving range. Now, would Marion want to hire him to teach in his Crocs? You know what I mean? I think it. You know what I mean, though.
Well, no, and that's where I was going. Like, it's really like I would assume, based on what we've learned about Steve today, he did his research to make sure that where he's teaching at, he can do those things and he can grow his business to where he's not gonna outgrow the club at that point. And that's really it's. But and I worked at a facility where it was like, hey, limit the amount of people that you bring through this door, right? Okay, well, that limits me. I don't want to be limited. I want to go where I don't have that, right? Like
the more people that, us teachers come in contact with, that could potentially be $100,000 member.
Yeah.
We're free advertising for the club. The more people I can meet and talk to, you have a potential to sign up a member, and that could be a lifelong member. That could really, help benefit the club. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. And I'm sure you've had that conversation with them over there. So,
do you have a favorite golf course that you can say that doesn't compare to anything that I've ever played before and probably won't ever compare to anything I've ever played before?
My favorite course is Marion.
Mm-hmm. That's so boring.
Yeah, but you got to hear my story.
Okay, tell me the story, and then I'll take back my boring comment.
I've played Pine Valley a lot. I went to high school with the director of golf's son. We were there almost all the time after school and in high school.
Okay, don't brag.
No, I'm just saying.
The
point is, I've only played Marion 2 times.
Okay,
I've only played Marion 2 times, and when I played there in the Crispin Cup. Remember when Gap had that? Gap had the Crispin Cup, Marion East, and I was 16, and I was playing. And I was nervous. It's Marion, one of the best courses in the world. What am I going to shoot? Am I going to shoot 100? So I start off. I par the first hole, play that par 5 down the road, hit good drive, nice 4-iron. I hole out my third shot for eagle, 2 under, make a bogey, make a birdie, make a bogey, birdie, birdie. I'm like, what the fuck's going on?
What'd you do on 6?
6 made birdie.
That's a hard hole.
Yeah. I made an eagle and 3 birdies in the front 9 and shot 3 over. Because then on 7, I piped 2 out of bounds.
It sounds like one of my rounds.
Yeah. But that, like, and my dad was there for us, so he got to see. He saw me hole out, saw me have, this pretty cool run of 7 holes there. And then once you cross the street, I got hammered.
Forget it.
Yeah. I think I shot 80-80, which was respectable, as a 16-year-old playing Marion. But that's my favorite course because my dad was there, and I had a pretty cool stretch of holes there at a pretty historic venue.
Okay, so you've played all around the world, all around the country.
No, the prettiest course I've ever played is Pebble. Walking that was unbelievable. But you're asking course, score, and the cool nostalgia that I had there was definitely Marion.
Okay, because I don't care about score. I if I go out and have a really good time and put down a bunch of nooners and don't tip a cart, that's a victory for a day.
Drew's favorite course is any resort course that has high noons.
No. Take that back. Because when you get to the resorts, they're $11 a piece, and that's where I still pay it. But it's like that tax is like, come on. But no, I think, and that's great that Marion is in your head, your favorite course. What about course food? What? Because I'm asking questions that. Michael's not asking that people want to hear.
That would be a great question for my brother. I always say this about me and my brother. Me and my brother were the same height. My brother's probably 230, 240, where I weigh 165. I eat because you have to survive. I don't enjoy food.
How old are you?
37.
Okay, just wait another 8 years.
My brother is the foodie who you'd want to eat. I could.
So your food's not a thing. When you go to a good golf course.
Tomorrow's Thanksgiving, right? I look forward to tomorrow to have some Coors Lights and bet on football. The food just happens to be there.
So you have the kind of Justin Thomas attitude about it.
It's fuel.
If it was so good, why is it only served on one day a year?
I'm
not a big fan of Thanksgiving.
I like Thanksgiving.
I don't eat a lot
on
Thanksgiving.
The family, the beers, and the football is really what I like for Thanksgiving, and there happens to be turkey there.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's not been a place.
I wouldn't mind having a Thanksgiving and having like a bunch of cheeseburgers or something. Like I'd like that better than turkey.
Come to our Filipino Thanksgiving. Yeah. You'll enjoy that.
Yeah.
There's turkey, but there's also
a lot of other stuff.
So
that's what I eat.
So as you've played around the world, and we've determined that Marion's your favorite, you don't really care for golf course food. What drew you? And I'm just looking at you. What drew you to TaylorMade?
Honestly, I've always going back to my days with Mike Mack at Burlington from a young age. Him and at the time Rick Rossetti got me in on TaylorMade right out of college. Always kind of took care of me, and I've just kind of been programmed TaylorMade really because.
Didn't Rick Rossetti go to Nike?
Well, at the time, this is 2009, 2010.
Rick Rossetti was here today.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Nice. I think he's Strixon right now, right? Strixon and Nike.
Yeah, he dropped some stuff off.
Yeah, that's really why. Just from a young age, always been around it. The reps and the people at TaylorMade has always taken care of me, and I'm happy to be on their staff. It's really my favorite company.
Yeah, there's a long pause there. It's very forgiving, their clubs, which is such a poor campaign run.
Drew is a hater on all golf companies.
No, I am not a hater on golf companies. If I'm a hater, I've got a Strixon hat on. I mean, I'm not a hater. I've got FootJoy stuff on. I got Nike stuff on. I'm not a hater. I'm just saying, for me, growing up, I did play TaylorMade because a lot of times for left-handers, I could go and buy it off the shelf.
Okay.
But when I got into the business and started to, work with other companies and see other programs that they deal with, it was just different for me.
Yeah.
And so it changed my aspect on how I looked at it. And it has nothing to do with product or anything like that. It's just all about, I think business decisions. And so for me, I do have a Strixon hat on right now, but I'm a Cleveland. I'm a Callaway staff member. And, I think that I think it's great that there are the competitions in the game.
Yeah. I mean, the top brands are the top brands for a reason. They're all really good. I think all the top brands are really good.
So I don't think you can sit here and say one's better than the other in certain aspects. Yeah, there are statistics and people winning with certain clubs.
Yeah.
But I think you give those guys really anything in their hand, and
especially if you get fit and the way that those guys get fit and get it dialed in. I mean,
how many times do those trucks roll up and they roll out 6 different drivers for them, and they hit all 6 of them and be like, this one doesn't do this one, and they're all the same.
We were in L.A. for the U.S. Open, and Dustin Johnson comes on to hit. He's probably like 15 yards away from us, and he's got 7 or 8 shafts. He's got 4 heads. He's hitting. He's got the equipment guys with him. He's got his posse people around him. It's amazing, the stuff that's out there. to get even Chris. Chris was an alternate, right? He's an alternate. Dinda goes up to the Titleist guy that he knows because Chris is on Titleist staff. Hey, can you get Chris a new 6-iron? He broke his 6-iron, I think in Columbia, or nicked it, and new wedges. Within 25, 30 minutes, he's got everything right there in his locker.
Yep.
I mean, he wasn't even in the tournament. He was like the 4th alternate. It's crazy, man. When you're out there, those equipment guys, they work their tail off.
I'll tell you what, that's such a great job, because not only do they go out and they help you with the fittings and doing stuff, they're also the guys driving the trucks.
I
That's
didn't know
the
that.
smartest thing. They're the guys driving the trucks to the events and doing the fitting. I mean, how smart is that? Pay them both to do both.
Yeah.
Instead of paying someone to drive and then having somebody to travel there or to ride with them. I mean, and those guys sometimes they'll drive, I mean, east to west, east to west.
They're on the road all summer.
They might be up real late in the trailer, you know, bending clubs, re-gripping clubs to get it ready for the guys. They're awesome. They do a great job.
That's one of the best parts of the National Club Pro, Steve. You get that same treatment there.
At the time when I was traveling around, with Mike and Andy, like 2009, 2010, there was the U.S. Mid-Am. I think it was in the Hamptons, someplace in the Hamptons, and Mike Highland at the time was in it, and Jeff Cooper, who I was helping at the time, was there. So I drove up for the day to practice with those guys, and it was funny because, like you said, they had the same equipment. I'm walking onto the range and I look at the TaylorMade guy who I knew from, being around on the tour. And he's like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "What are you doing here?" And same thing. Guys got new drivers, got it made, was done in 20, 30 minutes. And I told the guys, I'm like, "Dude, this is as close to a tour event as you're probably ever going to get." And you experience that. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, I experienced it. Well, I experienced every Club Pro that I played in, but last year especially with the airlines losing my golf clubs.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
And I got the full experience from
That's awesome.
Titleist, and I mean it's amazing how much these companies have, the resources they have to.
But it makes you feel like you're a PGA Tour player.
And the willingness. That's the key. Is the willingness.
They're so nice.
Yeah, they literally you're just I can remember my first National Club Pro. I was on staff with Titleist, and it was out in Bend, Oregon. We're at Sun River Resort. And I'm just minding my own business, just hitting balls. My dad's with me. We're just kind of hanging out. And the guy from Titleist walks over. He's like, "Hey, I see you got a Titleist hat on." He's like, "What can I do for you?"
Yeah.
And it was just boom, the full experience. And I was like, whoa, I thought that was for the special players.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't think that was for me. I thought that was for the guys that they want to watch on TV. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You got to make sure that you don't have a Clubhouse 54 hat on this year, that you have a Titleist hat on or some kind of hat so somebody comes over to you and says, "Hey, you need something?"
No, I'm going to be approaching them. Now that I know the deal, I'm approaching them now. I can wear whatever hat I want.
Well, you wear the hat after you.
If I don't wear their hat, I just don't get paid.
Well, we all want to get paid. Right?
Of course.
I mean, that's
But what
what
pays me more, my business or them?
Can you write that off?
I can write anything off.
Perfect.
No, I'm only kidding. I can't. Steve, so we're gonna get this thing wrapped up here. But man, I learned a lot here today. I learned a lot more about you that I didn't know, and I expected that coming into it.
Yep.
You helped me see a little bit more of how I want to approach how I give a golf lesson, which is great. And we had a little bit of fun doing it too. So,
is there any questions that you have for me? I mean, we ask every guest that comes on, a lot of questions that I feel. Is there anything that you've been wondering about me about this podcast?
How many hole ones do you have?
0, but I have witnessed 2 back to back on the same hole in the same group.
That's pretty crazy.
And the funny thing is after the guy hit the first one, the guy that hit the second one threw his club up in the air in celebration, and it came down and hit the guy who hit the first one in the head.
Jesus Christ.
How many you got?
Me, I have 2.5.
A half.
Exactly.
What's a half?
Exactly.
All
what
right.
is a half?
Was it during COVID with the?
No.
Yeah, he hit the foam.
No. So my half would be I was working at Rolling Green, and you know the third hole at Rolling Green?
Yeah.
So I'm in the golf shop,
Yep.
and the member, I walked out to say hi to the member and his guest.
Yeah,
And
it's
he
a
goes, hey,
downhill.
Mike.
It's a downhill par 3.
Yeah, he goes, Mike, hey, hit a ball and let my guest see your golf swing.
God,
I want him to see you hit a golf shot.
And you made it.
And I one hop and dunked right in the hole. So that's why I say 2.5.
Well, it counts.
It doesn't. You
No,
got to play it
no,
around
no,
the
no,
golf.
I would count that though.
No,
It only counts if he played 9 holes.
That,
Yeah,
I think
that doesn't.
that
That's why
counts.
it's a half, 2.5.
I don't even.
I may
would,
be the only guy to be able to say 2.5.
If I went out late at night at like 7 o'clock in the summer and I played our first 4 holes or 5 holes of the loop and I made a hole in one on our 5th hole, I'd count that.
I don't have a plaque for that. I have a plaque for my others.
I don't have a plaque, and I made one in a real, I only have one. I made one when I was 16 at Merchantville Country Club, and I don't have any. I have the ball. That's about it. I just have the ball saved. I don't even know if there's a thing with my name.
I think
that says
they're
I got it.
overrated, to be totally honest with you.
They're all
the
luck.
other ones are just overrated.
I think they're all luck.
It's all
It's overrated.
I'm never
and
aiming
you
at
know
the
what?
hole anyway.
I have had probably 10 hole outs, and have seen probably 5 of them.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of things where
Yeah.
it's a blind shot or the green's elevated or whatever. And yeah, you hit it and then you go up to the green. You're like, oh, my ball's in the hole. Cool, whatever. It's overrated. All right,
That's crazy.
Steve, it has been a pleasure. I'm looking forward to hitting you up and seeing if I can come down to you and have you work on my swing because. My co-host here has zero interest in trying to get me better. He's always talking about, you're this and that and this and that.
When you see it, you'll understand why I fired him.
Oh God.
Yeah, fired him.
Steve, absolute
Yeah,
pleasure.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate
man.
it. Thank you.
Pleasure.